Alright, we are going to fill out a closing costs addendum really quick. It's a pretty simple form, so we should move through it fairly quickly. Over here in the search bar, you can just type in the word closing and it will pop up right here, closing costs addendum to the REPC. I prefer to use the addendum. I always recommend agents use it. There are realtors out there that will just use a blank addendum and put in the closing costs. I've always been a big believer to use the forms provided by the state. It protects you from practicing real estate without a license, or practicing law without a license, and it's usually prepared better than we would because we're not attorneys, even though some of us think we are. So let's start from the beginning. This is usually an addendum. It could be a counteroffer, but you're usually presenting it with your offer, so you'll just check addendum. If you're adding it after the fact, make sure you put the offer reference date. Usually it's the day that it's today because you're preparing it with the offer. So then you put the buyer's name here. I'll just pretend that I'm the buyer. And then the seller's name here. Parents were so cruel, they named his first name the same as his last name, Mr. Jojo. So now what we want to do is put in the MLS number to autofill the address. If you would rather, you're more than welcome to just type it in, but I just like it to automatically load. So I'll put it in there, autofill, and when you do that, it pops up there. Sometimes it doesn't add the city, so you need to do that. So once you got the address in, it's really only one thing to fill out, and that's what the seller's contribution to closing costs is. Now the reason I like this addendum is the verbiage after the number. So it says the seller will contribute X amount to be applied at buyer's discretion, so that's important, at buyer's discretion toward any or all of the following: permanent reduction or temporary reduction in the mortgage loan interest rate, mortgage financing costs, closing costs, prepaids, escrows, any unused portion of the seller's contribution may at buyer's option be used to reduce the purchase price. So here's the big difference. Obviously, you can do prepaids to get the mortgage interest down all day long. You could use all of your closing costs for that. But if you decide not to use your closing costs, because of this verbiage here, it says that you can then use it to reduce the purchase price. I've seen all too many buyer's agents go in and they say, all right, we want $5,000 in closing costs. And then the lender's like, well, it's only going to cost them $4,000. And guess who gets that extra $1,000? It goes right back to the sellers. So again, that's why I use this addendum. It protects your buyers, lists all these cool things they can use the closing costs for. And then it says if they don't use all of them, it will be deducted from the purchase price, which is a good thing. So again, you put the seller's response deadline as we've done in other videos. Try to give them adequate time, be polite. And seller's acceptance deadline. There I go saying response deadline. So the seller's acceptance deadline right here. So give them a respectful amount of time. Try to be workable. Always notify the other agent. Here's a quick added tip. Always notify the other agent when you're sending this over. Send them a text and a phone call, just verifying that they got it. And you're done. There's your closing costs addendum.